the predominant feeling seems to be that after so much internal conflict and no sign of a resolution, this could well be the beginning of the end for the Labour Party. And it certainly doesn't help, does it, when the man who helped to deliver their staggering success at the last presidential election in 2023 and brought them a whisker away from taking possession of the keys to the Aso Rock presidential villa, Akin Osuntokun, has also packed his bags and taken leave of the party. Mr. Osuntokun seems to think that the Labour Party is losing a game of poker when it comes to reconciliation. The rest of us are, of course, wondering why it's become impossible for the party leadership to strike a deal and come back together as one. Be that as it may, Mr. Osuntokun has now set his sights on the new opposition ADC coalition, though he is yet to fully throw his considerable leverage into that fray. And Akin Osuntokun, the former Director General of the Labour Party's Obi-Datti Presidential Campaign Council, joins me now in the studio. How nice to see you again.
Same here, Charles.
I have to say you look very well rested.
Yes.
The stresses of politics.
Yeah. You have a point there, but I'm used to taking my own destiny into my hands, my faith.
Yes.
So at all times I try to have a constant trajectory, even
though, in fairness to you, I have to say that even in the hottest days of the campaign, you still looked as cool as a cucumber, as they say. But I mean, just 2 years ago, as DG of the Labour Party's Obi-Datti campaign, presidential campaign. I mean, you were leading the charge of those who were very forcefully and convincingly trying to rally Nigerians around the Labour Party during the 2023 election. But now that is all water under a bridge, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, everybody who must have been following the teeth back the crisis will know that the party as such is heading towards extinction. But it is not peculiar or unexpected, right? There are many of these parties that just exist on paper. Labour Party was more or less of that mold before Obi breathed air life into it. So there will be nothing peculiar both by the president, the former executives who are trying to sit tight, that nobody will be surprised. I mean, if though they do have a new, and they have something that works for them, they have a nuisance value. If any other party, any party like, say, the party in power, if you want to destabilize some people, things like that, they are there to be used, and I think they have been doing that. So you see, I've been trying to say that, look, it's a pity that the Nigerian Constitution does not permit for one party, for independent candidacy. If there was, that was there, yes. Somebody like Obi wouldn't have fallen into. You must remember that what powered is coming to the Nigeria big time was what they call the obedience, not the Labour Party. It was when trying to fulfill, the regulations, okay, start deciding which of these special purpose vehicles you are going to use for your. So, but even at a larger level, I mean, Nigeria doesn't have a viable political party system. This is actually the problem. We operate SPVs, we operate a system on which ritually and at cycles, you have people coming together, calling themselves APC or whatever it is, to grab power. Then when they get to that power, you see all their actions. They are almost totally at odds with whatever they might have said, during the launch. And of course, this is so, even you mentioned the ADC and things like that. The ADC is also taking, there is room, there is a vacuum, for another competitor, major competitor. So to that extent, those going to ADC are taking advantage of that. ADC, if you put all those people together in ADC, certainly you will know that this cannot be a party consisting of people with difference. The only objective is what is in view. And as I said, all these other parties like Labour Party and some that you cannot remember their name, right? They are part of the anomy, the dysfunction. You must be in a party to contest. Not that you must be in a party to fulfill what you said, what you campaign for, what you represent, right? The only is saying that, and that is Nigeria for you. Nominalism, trivializing issues that are so important, getting into the constitution, and so Nigeria is replete, with all manners of, dysfunction.
And yet, you've analyzed it very well, and the fact that if you want to be in politics, you really don't have a choice. You have to be in a political party. And your sights are being set on the ADC coalition, because at least to some extent it is a newer thing, and perhaps there is the possibility of kind of molding it in a particular direction.
Molding it? No, I don't know. My first instinct was that, because more or less we started the ADC.
Right. Yes, you were the original party, not this new coalition, ADC.
No,
right.
Coalition.
You were part of the original ADC.
Yes. President Obasanjo started what he called Coalition for Nigeria Movement, something like non-partisan, and then he invited Nigerians of like minds to join with him. Many people go, but he then said that the transition of that movement into becoming a political party, right, that he will have to withdraw because of his own position as a statesman. So of course, so we were there at the beginning, but like I said, instinctually, by sheer instinct, that is where potential
you're looking at, but you haven't actually joined it.
No.
Right. So but looking at it from where you're standing or sitting at the moment, do you now, because you have a vision. You have a vision that a lot of Nigerians cottoned onto, a vision that you infused into the Labour Party campaign, because you were kind of pulling strings behind the scenes. And that vision was essentially to try and help change the political direction of Nigeria by wresting power, essentially, from the APC. How are you going to do that now?
You mean with the ADC?
Yeah, are you going to try and further that potentially with the ADC?
I don't know. I think, I reason through whatever I want to do, because I don't like postmortem, so looking back that I shouldn't have done this.
Right.
But you see, there are some, a few ground rules for me, and I hesitate to say so, because I don't want people to personalize it or to misinterpret it. We need to follow through, on the principle of rotation between North and South. That is the only way you can build a nation.
Right. So the presumption is that you support a candidate from the South.
I have to.
Right.
Look, And those are the kind of politicians that Nigeria needs. You can't say something in the morning and turn against it in the afternoon. And there is a lot of reason behind that, a lot of patriotism. You know, it takes perseverance for people to build a country. But at the slightest time, at any moment that you seem slightly disadvantaged, you start bringing about, you know, all sorts of problems. Now, if at the end of the day, somebody from the north wins, then you will have created another problem. That you deprive the south, or maybe the southwest, of fulfilling the 2 terms. So you start again. So where is it?
Yeah, you said you made a pregnant statement then, or phrase. You said maybe the Southwest. Does that suggest that you might be inclining in that direction as far as this, you know, thing going south is concerned?
Okay. Well, I have to because the present man on is a Yoruba man, the present president. So, and of course, to that extent, it actually stands to do by Nigerian, you know, contributors, you know, everything ahead of the other people. Now I mentioned Southwest because look, the Southwest, more than any other zone, right, are going to suffer the withdrawal syndrome, where Tinubu to leave office in 2027. The Western state has a history, you know, of a balance of terror, of, you know, spawning on, you know, erupting into physical violence.
Right.
Against those who might have taken an independent position, not to support the present president.
You mean people like yourself, for example?
Well, I actually was going to say that I suffered a bit of that, you know, in 2023, right? That, you know, especially when the result of the presidential election caught them flat-footed. So there was a backlash with the following election for the Lagos State governorship. So first, you know, it's a very traumatic experience for me. They were hounding the Igbo people. You know, I moved around. I saw them, you know, cowering together. Some of them have been brutalized. And I said, what? Is this where we are going?
This was in Lagos.
This was in Lagos. Yeah. This is what is going to happen. And then when they didn't allow them to vote, so I said, look, you cannot stop people from voting. And then the man who appeared to be the big, now, you know, was threatening me, pushing my... Well, so I said, well, look. So you can now imagine a situation where a Yoruba man is the sitting president. You know, you try to do that. Well, look, Nigeria needs... all these patch, you can't, you know, you can't run away from a constitutional overhaul, a major. Like, for instance, the presidency is the most destabilizing factor of Nigeria's politics. It is excises mad ambition. Everybody wants to go there, and there's a reason for that. You know, to exercise arbitrary, you know, patiently and so on and so forth. You can pick whoever you want. So
let me just understand the upshot of the point that you're making. I mean, what is the upshot? Because people see you as somebody who had a considerable fidelity to your principles.
Thank you.
And they felt that in spite of all these things you talked about, you had come out. In fact, I was going to mention that, to ask you whether you're conflicted about President Tinubu. Because, I mean, you were once quite close to him, but now you seem to be on the other side of the Mason-Dixon liner, as they say. I mean, and I'm wondering whether the points you're making now are suggesting that you're going to be drifting back in that direction.
No, don't put so.
Well, I'm just trying to, I need to have some clarity,
also, yeah,
because you're mystifying us in some ways.
No. Some can give that kind of interpretation. But you see, I say things as I see them.
Right.
Like I said, I still have a good personal relationship with him. I actually feel bad at times when always seem to find myself, in
on the opposing side.
Exactly. Look at the last election. Leading a campaign, you can imagine what would have transpired. But you see, you got to give him. Again, what I'm saying is, regardless of that, at that time, right, even now, I wrote something this today, and this is, I call it the Constitution, SOP.
I saw the article.
Yeah, that the crisis of Nigeria is not about replacement of Tinubu. No. It is not the problem of Nigeria. Believe me, if you replace Tinubu, successfully do that, the person who comes in without doing something about the constitution is likely going to prove worse, than the person who is there. You cannot.
But let me just clarify some points. I mean, when President Tinubu's presidential ambition came to public notice, you went to him.
Yes.
I mean, he's somebody you know. He knows you. He wanted to support you as a governorship candidate in Ekiti State. So that's how much trust he had in you.
Exactly.
You then went to him and told him that you were going to actively support the emergence of a president from the Southeast. I mean, he must have felt like you punched him in the stomach.
No, I don't think so. No, I think he understands me, and probably will have some respect, for him, because 99% of people around him will not say that to him. And it's not that I wasn't doing it out of anger or anything with him. I was doing it because this is what, if you want to build a nation, so if you have an objective, right, logically, right, there is a way you go about it. You cannot deviate from that path and still say that you have this as your objective. See, look, if you believe in the north-south rotation, for instance, which has proved, to be a stabilizing factor, and then what was responsible for adopting it in the first place? Has that need changed? If it has, so why then do you want to abandon it?
Yeah, but he must have said to you, why are you not I mean, I'm from the South.
No, I told you.
Why aren't you supporting me?
No,
and I'm your friend and your brother.
Yeah, but that's what something about him. Well, I think that most people who relate with me, they know that I'm like this.
Yeah, but why did you support Obi in preference to him?
It was the turn of the Southeast.
Is it just because it was the turn? So if it was, anybody from the Southeast, you'd support them?
No, I may just keep quiet. But that principle, the principle of rotation of power, lies, the beneficiary at that time should be the Southeast. And it's like this.
And now that the Southeast is not in, is that principle that you said you had fidelity to, is that still going to prevail in 2027?
Yeah. Look, if I said something earlier, right, that this is the position. That is my position. If Obi, for instance, is not going to be on top of the ticket, I won't. I will probably support whoever, or keep quiet about the prospect of whichever candidate is from the is from the south. Look, in Obira, look, the political players, they were caught unawares, by him. That's why he went so far. They would have killed him before. If and you know what? Of course, look, when I tell people that Obi won the election, first I tell them there are 6 organizations that did public opinion polls, including CNN and Bloomberg. All of them predicted that the man was going to win the election. Was it that in the case of Obi, CNN had a business to do with him, or they suddenly developed incompetence? Because they are products of science. Right? Obi didn't ask them to go and do a POP. And so when people come around with all these things, it's just like Lagos. Right? The margin that Obi defeated Tinubu was substantial, was far, far more than what was credited for him. And the good thing was that it was the coalition officer of the PDP, who gave out the figures, that happened. Even around the country, look, in the situation room we were in 2023, look, results coming over from all over the country, was even from the north. So I pity myself at times that I'm privy to certain information that others don't, that may not look logical.
So let me ask you, based on that, I mean, obviously a lot of people see you as having done a phenomenally good job in 2023 as Director General of the Obi-Datti campaign, taking a little-known party with meager resources to almost victory in a presidential election. You say you had victory. INEC says you almost had victory. And I'm wondering whether there's some intricate mathematical formula that you had to follow to achieve that feat.
No, first of all, you are attributing to me what the achievement.
I mean, I'm not saying it's you per se, but you were the Director General, which meant that administratively speaking, you were in control.
The focus was the youth, right? Before the election, before the presidential election, I was doing some kind of sampling, testing, like, this hypothesis, my hypothesis wrong or right. My hypothesis at that time was that almost all the young people, right, in Lagos and probably all over the country are going to support this guy. We all know the youth rebellion and things like that. So anywhere I go, I test that hypothesis. Whenever I go to a friend's house, maybe for dinner or whatever it is, I will ask the children and the steward and everything like that, who are you going to vote for? Without one exception, they say that they are going to vote for Obi. Okay, so that was confirmed, in the election. So I don't know. So this was the case. This was the situation. If anybody was going to be cheated because of lack of capacity, in that election, it was Obi.
Right. Now,
we didn't have enough political party agents all over the country. We couldn't afford it. Regardless, in many of those places, the results we got, because people then did it voluntarily to, you seem to be surprised that. And I tell people that, okay, Nigeria, corruption is taken for granted in Nigeria, especially during elections. If you are coming from that background, right, in what way will you factor that tradition into the election that we had? Right? If you followed it, everything, first and foremost, by the way, Nigeria were not as many as we claim to be. But if we are going to follow the logic of where we are coming from, thoroughly corrupt, why should anybody believe that 2023 was an exemption. And in that case, the result that was given was the true result.
That's a reasonable argument to make. But I mean, we're almost out of time. After putting so much energy and time and ingenuity and getting so tantalizingly close to tasting power in 2023 and then losing it, I mean, how did you deal with all that psychologically?
No, there's nothing psychologically. Look, President Obasanjo, when he was in office, he used to tell us that, look, you should have two addresses. One, the present political position you are holding. The other, your professional business. So that, and the logic was simple, so that you don't, if you don't succeed, if you want, you don't become totally,
yeah, but we're not talking about the destitution. I mean, your work is your work. It puts food on the table. But politics is your passion. And when you've got a passion, it consumes you, doesn't it? I mean, that's why you're able to do it so well, because it consumes you. And so when when it disappoints you, that disappointment also consumes you, doesn't it?
Yes, that disappointment was the essence of what I wrote today.
Right. I thought that was a masterful article, by the way.
You come to a point, right, that look, modeling through of being shielded from coming to terms, with the fundamental issues about Nigeria and things like that. That's why I said, look, this election coming forward is not the problem, it is this constitution. So long as it remains what it is, you cannot add 2 + 2 and get 5. And we have seen the examples consistently, in what they do. So this is it that you said. That's why I said, well, look, you can either have a positive resolution or a negative. The negative is that let this thing blow out. Let everybody come to the consequences of what you do. Right? Go back to the drawing board, the theory thing. You can force a constitutional crisis or whatever, and let's rebuild. Let's start from there. Rather than all this, you have an NNEC chairman with totally, compromise, and he's there, and he's the same man who's going to conduct election in 20. So who do I want to? Am I so naive that that man will have changed from being a villain to an angel? He doesn't know.
Well, on that rather depressing note, it's good to see you again. It's good to talk with you, and it's good to follow your political trajectory going forward. So please come back again.
Thank you very much. I will.
Thank you very much indeed. Akin Osuntokun is the former Director General of the Labour Party's Obi-Datti presidential campaign. Good to see you again.